International trade after the economic crisis. Abdushukurova, Visola. Introduction of trade restrictive measures following the financial crisis. In the time of economic reasons, protections, sentiments against imports competing with domestic products tend to rise. Domestic businesses demand their government introduce measures to restrict imports and government response to them, such as trade restrictive actions taken by one country can trigger similar actions by other countries, creating the possibility that protectionist trade policies will spread across the world. Non-automatic import leasings. Since the financial crisis, countries such as Argentina, India, and Indonesia have introduced import licensing system for specific products. From November 2008, India introduced an import license requirements for iron and steel products, including hot-rolled steel and unalloyed flat-rolled steel sheets, and automatic parts including gearboxes and bumper bars. Indonesia have a total of 505 pounds subject to an import registration requirements and prevents testing for 2 years from January 2009. These include foodstuff, beverage, children's toys, and electrical and electronic products. In addition, these products can only receive customs clearance at international airports and 5 seaports. Consumption subsides. As part of their economic stimulus measures, a number of countries have introduced subsidies that encourage consumers to buy specific products through, for example, refunding a certain amount of the purchase price. Subsidies to consumers can be effective measure for stimulating demand, which in turn promotes trade. However, if subsidies are paid only when domestically produced product is perhaps this may violate the principle of national treatment under the GATT. WTO. Malaysia is one of the countries that are considering introduction of discriminatory subsidies to consumers. Bailing out of struggling companies by European Union countries and the United States. Subsidies provided on the basis of export performance and subsidied countries upon the preferential use of domestic product over imported product and prohibition under the terms of SCM agreement. If either of these type of subsidies is put into effect, WTO member countries has the right to go before WTO dispute settlements body and demand an immediate withdrawal of such subsidy. In the past, the European Union and United States have adopted a through position with government assistance to alien companies. A leading example are the CFD measure launched by European Union, Japan and United States against dynamic random access memory (DRAM) chips manufactured by Hynix, a company which received support from the government of the Republic of Korea after it almost collapsed as a result of the 1998 Asian financial crisis. In addition, the United States has proposed in the Doha Round negotiation that first group of subsidy types should be prohibition in addition to the above-mentioned subsidies based on export performance and subsidies concrete upon preferential use of domestic products including the transfer of funds to compensate for opening losses. Despite these stays, the European Union and United States have now provided financial assistance to their domestic institutions. These moves could significantly a wide range of discussion and the Doha round, including negotiations concerning the appropriate form and rules for subsidy systems and consideration of CFD measures. FTA. It is possible the current economic climate may delay the conclusion of FTAs, which are currently under negotiation as governments worldwide and primarily focus on domestic policies against the background of the global regions. Need to monitor post-crisis changes in business environment. Effective against the new strategies of trade restrictive measures in the post-crisis world. The deterioration of the global situation after the financial crisis in September 2008 is often compared to Great Depression of the 1930s. Trade restriction measures imposed by United States at that time provoked similar reactions from Europeans, increasing the deaths of the reasons. After the financial crisis, a number of measures were taken around the world to protect national industries, including the introduction of the Buy American provides in the United States and a number of tariff increases in developing countries. This situation raises concerns that trade conflicts similar to those that took place during the Great Depression may arise. However, the critical difference between the traditional environment of the past and today lies in the extension of FTO rules. Almost all trade restrictions imposed after the financial crisis seem to remain within the framework allowed by various WTO agreements. However, if WTO rules are violated by WTO members, requests from others requests for the correction of such measures will be submitted as part of complex WTO justice process. New relations in international trade. International trade is much more intertwined than 2 decades ago. Much has happened in the international trading environment since establishing of the WTO in 1995. Changes in the geographical environment (EAT), the end of the East-West divide brought many countries of the former Eastern Bloc, including China, Vietnam, and Central and Eastern European countries, into the WTO system, which is now almost universal in terms of membership. Furthermore, many European economies in transition have successfully become members of the European Union. In the past 15 years, we witnessed the massive expansion of world trade, and WTO as an open and rule-based multilateral trading system has been one of the major factors behind it. The crisis influenced the outlook of the Doha round when the things of the global regions first loomed after the financial crisis. There was serious concern that market protection would undermine the multiple trade rules established under the WTO. However, countries choose to adhere to the WTO rules instead of following the path that led to Great Depression in the 1930s, when a proliferation destructive protection trade measures The global economic depression. New business opportunities in the environmental market. Efforts to market expansion and future growth strategic in response to global economic crisis triggered by the Lehman Brothers shock. Many countries have taken proactive economic measures to stimulate demand and promote industry. In particular, the environmental sector is receiving much attention as a potential source of growth. A large number of countries are investing in injecting financial resources into the sector, which generally covers activities such as pollution control, improvement in energy efficiency, renewable energy production, and reduction in carbon emission. Of the 50.4 trillion, approximately 165 billion economic stimulus package prepared by the Japanese government in April 2009, 10% of 1.6 trillion has been allocated to environmental measures. In the United States, President Obama announced a 150 billion 10-year renewable energy invited to create 5 million new jobs. In China, 5.3% of its 4 trillion yuan, approximately 500 $85 economic stimulus package has been secured for the environmental related budget. European countries have also taken measures to support switching to low emission while the growth of environmental business on global scale is inscrutable and will create huge international business opportunity. It is end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.